Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much again for joining Michael and I in our psychic and intuition development workshop. My name is Nikki Vasquez. I'm an animal communicator. This is my husband, Michael.
Hello, everyone. I am a personal evolution facilitator. And what that means is I'm a coach that I help you just develop into the greatest version of yourself.
I'm excited to do this workshop with you all today because I think a lot of animal communicators, pet psychic, it's the same thing. The words are used interchangeably. A lot of the animal communicators out there and other mediums and psychic mediums, they talk about how they grew up doing this, from the moment from as early as they can remember, they were having these experiences. They were hearing the animals talk to them or they were seeing spirits. I didn't have any of that. I was a regular kid. I played sports, had hamsters, and I really didn't have like a deep connection with animals in general. I mean, I always had animals, but it wasn't like I was this overwhelming animal lover. We had a dog when I was younger, but it wasn't until my late 20s that I even learned animal communication was possible. I used to be a lawyer. I actually quit last year and went full-time animal communication. So in my lawyer days, my days were spent stressed out. I had a 2-hour commute one way and I had time for really nothing else. So when your days are spent stressed, both of my eyes were twitching at separate times, I wasn't eating right, I wasn't drinking enough water. When you're not living your life in happiness and in joy, it really um, inhibits our psychic and intuitive abilities from flourishing because we are all born innately psychic. And I said a minute ago that as a kid, I didn't have any of these experiences, but it doesn't mean I wasn't capable of doing it. So I learned how to do animal communication. And this workshop's not about animal communication, but that's just my story. So there's techniques that I do every single day to strengthen my psychic and intuitive abilities. And it's how I got to where I'm at. I quit my full-time job and I'm doing this full time, talking telepathically with animals, both that are living and those that are in spirit. So throughout this workshop, there's going to be several exercises I'm going to lead you through and just some knowledge just so that you're aware of what different parts of the body contribute to your psychic senses. After the first hour, we're going to take a 3-minute break. And then Michael's going to come back on for the last hour and run through an exercise with you at that point. Do you want to say anything before we begin?
Absolutely. I just wanted to quick introduce myself too. Many of you probably know Nikki a lot more than you do me. I never was in this field either. I was in the Marine Corps 10 years ago. When I came out of the military, I was pursuing a career in law enforcement. So you guys can tell that that is not anywhere near the energy, the vibration that we kind of are living with now. And the biggest thing that we want you to take away with today is that no matter who you are, you can do whatever that you want to do. It's extremely important that each and every single one of you know that. And when we work together after Nikki departs, I'm going to really help you develop a lifestyle and get in touch with that intuition, because the intuition, I can honestly say, saved both of our lives. And when we started to tap into it, before we even knew what was happening in our life, we started to tap into that intuition. The choices in our life became more profound, more in alignment with our higher selves. And then one day it just started to appear to us what we were meant to do. And never in a million years, when I first met my wife, that I think this is what she was going to be doing. And I can honestly say no one in my entire life ever saw me doing the work that I do with people. And for Nikki, she speaks to animals. And I just want to let you know that I don't grow that muscle like she does. I participate in some of her workshops, and I have tapped into connecting with some animals before very clearly, and they come through to me sometimes just when I'm living my life. So I want you to know that whether you want to be in that world or whatever you want to do with your intuitive, whether you're a healer or whether you're some sort of body worker, you can grow these things. And that's what we're going to teach you here today. So many blessings to you all. I'll be talking with you soon. Nikki's going to take over now.
All right. So we're going to start with a little practice experiment exercise. I want you all to look away from your computer because you need some space other than what's right in front of you with your computer. You need to have something that you can look at. It can just be a wall. That's totally fine. All right. So, what I want you to do is what you're looking at, imagine the center field of your vision. Okay. So, if there was a long straight line coming from the center of what you're looking at and hitting you right in the face, where would it hit you on the face? So, to make that a little more clear, what I want you all to do is extend either of your arms out in front of you. So straight ahead of you. Okay. Keep looking where you're looking. Keep your arms straight ahead. And I want you to turn your pointer finger so it's facing you. Okay. Continue looking straight ahead, but you're slowly and gradually going to bring your finger to your face. And I want you to touch yourself on your face where you think the center of your vision field would be. And when you touch your face, keep your finger there and then look back at the camera. All right. So most of you, a lot of you are on the nose band, between the eyes, and it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. Okay. So you guys can all see each other. Now we're going to do it again. I want you to look away from the screen. You can remove your hand from your face. That was your physical vision. All right. Your eyes were open, you were seeing. Now I want you to do the same thing, but close your eyes. Extend your arm out in front of you. Point your finger towards yourself and bring it to your face. Slowly and gradually, and see where it hits you in the face. And then when you hit yourself, look at the camera. Most of you are a little higher up. Nod your head if you're a little higher than you were before. Yeah, most of you are. So the reason for that, when we're looking with our physical eyes, the focus is right here, right in the eyes. But when our eyes are shut, we're tapping into our psychic vision, which comes up to about the third eye. I'm sure most of you have heard the third eye. So when you shut off the physical senses, you're tapping into your psychic senses. We all have that. So just that little experiment, even if your finger only raised a little bit, if you're just looking right now, you're looking ahead, you're looking at the screen. If you close your eyes, and you can do it right now, not every time, but you might notice a gentle shift up. You might feel your visual focus kind of go up an inch. And the reason for that is, so there's 4 main psychic senses of our body. And this is the vision one, the third eye. We're seeing with the non-physical vision. And that reception area is the third eye. So this is the reason why you might see images flash before your mind's eye. How many of you, and you can raise your hand in the camera, you've been lying in bed at night, your eyes are closed, and you think of these brilliant ideas for your life, projects at work, while you're in bed and your eyes are shut, right? That happened to me for this workshop. And then I'm always like, okay, I'm going to remember that tomorrow morning. And I never do because I don't write it down. But it's when our eyes are shut, the physical sense, and seeing with our eyes isn't bad. But when we close the eyes, it's easier to tap into the psychic vision. So and there's also been times for a lot of you, raise your hand if it's happened to you, where your eyes are shut and you just like a color comes to you or an image of something. Sometimes, yeah, Monique, it happens to me all the time. And I don't always know what it means. But when this stuff comes to us, just having the awareness that there's a reason for it, that right there is enough to open the gateways to be like, okay, what was that trying to say? Or what was that about? Now, the physical vision, the psychic sense of vision for me is my strongest because I'm a very visual person. Like Mike, with all the time, he'll say, can I read this to you? And I'm like, no, I need to see it. Like if you read something to me, I hear you, but I can like comprehend it so much more if I read it. So I could never learn. Like in school, it was difficult for me if the teacher was just reading. I needed to see it. I needed to follow along. Now, the second psychic sense that a lot of you, I think, are going to resonate with is the psychic sense of feeling. Our physical body is a huge psychic antenna. That's why when someone is sneaking up or not sneaking up, but when someone's walking up behind you or sneaking up behind you, You feel them. Your body picks up on the energies of everything around you. So the reception center for the feeling is the belly button, the solar plexus. And this is fun because if there's been a time where you were in a conversation with someone, or you were feeling like they were kind of attacking you, or you just felt a little vulnerable, what do? We cross our arms. Because when we cross our arms, we're covering our belly button area. We're covering that psychic sense of feeling so we don't feel as vulnerable. And that's why when you go into for a job interview, how freaky would it be if you walked in and they wanted you to sit in a chair right in front of them? It's like, whoa, I'd rather have the desk there, because you don't feel your belly is not directly lined up with them. So you feel a little safer. And this is really good to know, because if you're ever in an intense conversation with someone, or someone's really angry or just upset, if you don't want to absorb all of their energy, say you're very empathetic and you take on people's energy a lot, turn your body a bit. You're still directly engaged with them and you're looking at them, but your stomach is off to the side. You are not lining right up with their belly button. And our hands are the little helpers to our psychic sense of feeling. There are times you can use your hands to grab something, and you can feel how that object makes you feel just by holding it. And all of you have experienced this. How many times have you gone to get a piece of food? The second you touch it, you're like, actually, I don't want that today. Or you go to pick something up, you guys are nodding. Or you pick something up and you drop it. And then this used to happen to me all the time. I would pick something up, drop it, and then just think I dropped it. No, guys, our hands are little psychic antennas. So if your body's not feeling that item today, it happened to me the other day with a banana. I was going to make a smoothie and I picked up the banana and dropped the whole bundle. And I was like, well, not having a banana. And before I was aware of what was happening, I would have just thought, oh, I dropped the banana. I just didn't grab onto it. But no. So be aware when you drop things, because there's a reason. Or if you get a bag of chips, this happens to me a lot, not a lot. It has happened to me a lot. And you can't open it. Like you literally cannot open the bag of chips. It doesn't work. And then you have to get scissors. It's like, no, if you can't open it, your body doesn't want it right now. So you guys are laughing. I mean, I'm sure this has happened to you guys, because these things happen all the time. Our body is so smart. And sometimes we're just not caught up to speed with how intelligent our body is. So we push these signs away. And with the food thing, there's times where this happens and I'm like, oh, come on, but I really want that right now. Like I'll drop things in the supermarket and I'm like, all right, but now I know better and I put it down because the body knows. So the third psychic sense is intuition. And this one is not the same as telepathy. It kind of is. We're going to get to that in a second. But intuition is a simple knowing. You have to trust this. This is the psychic sense that comes up most often for me in my animal communication senses, or in my animal communication readings. And this psychic sense is the quickest. It's the most fast. It's really easy to miss it because it's quick. And if you doubt or you hesitate, you're going to miss it. An example of what happened, this happened to me the other day. My friend recently moved and I was going to visit her. So I texted her. I was like, hey, give me your address. And she sent me back her address. And for privacy, I'm not going to say the real street name. We're going to say it's Barry Court. She said, X number Barry Court. And I was like, oh my gosh, I grew up on that street. And because she was in the town, so I knew it had to be the street. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I was trying to think, what was my childhood house number? I could not remember it, but I knew it had a 4 in it. So I texted my brother because he's usually good at remembering crazy stuff from like eons ago. And he came back and said 24. And I'm like, no, there's no way it was 24. And then I texted my mom and she couldn't think of it at the moment. I was like, oh my gosh, guys. So I was like, all right, I can do this. So I closed my eyes and I was like, I'm going to just not try too hard. And it's going to come to me. Like, I was just like I was literally actively thinking, don't think. And then all of a sudden, bam, 104 Barry Court. And I was like, oh my gosh, 104. That's what it was. So then I texted my mom, I was like, was it 104? And she's like, yes, that's what it was. So when we get out of the way, things are going to come. All right. And we have these reception areas, the third eye. We're going to get to the ears in a moment, the solar plexus. It's, you have to just settle the mind. And with this, you can imagine like a funnel. The reception area for the intuition is the top of the head. Imagine a funnel with the wide end extending out into the universe. And just ask, what are you trying? What do you need the answer to? What are you unsure about? So when I sat there, I imagined a funnel coming out of the top of my head. And I always do this sound. I have no idea why, but I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, what am I doing? Am I like an alien on TV? And like, I play that sound like in my mind. I don't do it out loud. And I'm just like visualizing the universe, just like implanting these thoughts in my mind of what I want. So if you're trying to remember something or you're trying to figure out, should I do this? Is this good for me? Imagine your crown opening in this funnel and just see what comes to you. And the last part is going to help you with that too, is the psychic sense of hearing. This is the easiest to not ignore and the hardest to ignore. And you're going to be like, okay, cool, Nikki, what a typical lawyer answer, yes and no, and it's the same thing. Stick with me here. The psychic sense of hearing, okay, right at the ears. This is the voice in your head. So sometimes it's so strong, it's so profound, you cannot ignore it. Call mom right now. And you're like, whoa, I just got goosebumps even saying that. And if you doubt it, it was so strong that even if you were kind of doubting, you're going to call your mom at that exact moment. But other times it's less intense. Other times you're driving and you're like, I think I should have turned left there, but you didn't. And you keep going straight. Turns out you should have went left. So it's easy, the psychic sense of hearing, until you practice, it's easy to discount like, oh, that was just a thought. But you guys experience this every day with finishing friends or partners' sentences. If your spouse is about to say something or your friend, and you answer their question and they're like, I didn't even ask that out loud, but you heard the question, that's what you're doing. You're psychically hearing what they're going to say. So we're going to do an exercise with this, just like we did with the third eye. So I want you guys to close your eyes. You can still look at your camera. You stay where you are. I want you to hear me talking. You're at this workshop. You're listening to me speak. Some of you don't have your eyes shut. Close them. It'll be much better. Right now, your focus is at your ear level and outside of you. So in a moment, I'm going to stop talking and I want you to talk to yourself in your head and see how your focus shifts kind of above your ears and you go inward. So in 3, 2, 1, talk to yourself. Okay, now you hear me again. Keep your eyes closed. Notice the subtle shift. When I'm speaking, the focus is outward. It's at ear level. I'm going to stop and now talk to yourself again. And if right now you're like, you can open your eyes. If you're like, Nikki, I don't notice a difference, play with it. It could be the subtlest little shift up. But the pattern, if you remember, is when we were using our physical vision, the focus was between the eyes. When we closed our eyes, it went up a little bit. With our hearing, when you're listening to me, your focus is at ear level. When you close your eyes and you're psychically hearing, you go up a little bit. So if at any part of your day you're struggling with something, you can't figure something out, or you just don't know what to do, or something as simple like, where's my phone? I don't know if this is going to work every time, but shift your focus upward just a bit. Get it out of the physical senses, because our physical senses are phenomenal, but our psychic senses, it's out to the cosmos. So to access the psychic hearing is just a shift upward. So that was a little introduction to the psychic senses. Now, the number one tool to enhance your psychic senses. You guys all know what I'm going to say. And some of you who are already doing it, you're going to be like, yep, I know. And those of you that aren't doing it, you're going to be like, yeah, I know, but I don't like it. This was the biggest struggle for me, hands down, my whole life. I could never find a meditation that I liked. I didn't like counting my breath. I didn't like chanting. I didn't like mantras. Not that I didn't like it, it just didn't work for me. And it just wasn't my thing. When I first started learning animal communication, before I was actually doing sessions, I was reading book after book after book. And I think I had to convince myself that it actually was real before I started doing it. And in every single book, they mentioned meditation. And I would kind of skip over it because nothing had worked for me up until that point. Until recently, probably 3 months ago, I was reading this book. It's called You Are Psychic. I forget the author's name. And of course, he had a part about meditation, but something that he said changed everything for me. He said, sit in a chair and say, close your eyes and say, I am love. I am forgiveness. I am love. I am forgiveness. And he's like, that's it. 5 minutes. Go and sit in a chair, close your eyes, and just say those 2 sentences. I am love. I am forgiveness. And it doesn't matter if there's nothing you need to forgive yourself for. It doesn't matter if there's no one you need to forgive. Just say that. It was just his example of doing something. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So that night, I sat in a chair, 5 minutes. I am love. I am forgiveness. Okay. And about 2.5 minutes into that, I felt my body literally go like completely downregulate. I was just saying, I am love, I am forgiveness. So I was like, wow, that was cool. So the next night I did it again and I did it again. And when you go into it knowing you're only going to do 5 minutes, more often than not, you're there longer. But when we go into something knowing we only have to do it for 5 minutes, we're more apt to do it. It's not overwhelming. And as I kept doing this, sometimes I played around with changing the phrases. It could be like, I am powerful, I am free, I am open, I am whatever, worthy, whatever. The sentence doesn't matter. It's just getting your analytical brain to kind of quiet. And 5 minutes. Guys, doing this for 5 minutes changed everything for me. And I'm not just saying that to sound dramatic. My communications, I was way more consistent, like consecutive days in a row. I could do more. I was more confident in my communications. They flowed a lot easier. And I was literally doing it for 5 minutes. A lot of things out there, resources, people say, meditate 3 times a day for 20 minutes. Yeah, that's great. It just doesn't work for me. I don't do it. Would I feel a lot better? I mean, maybe, probably, but it doesn't work for me. At night before bed is what works. Mike, he meditates morning and night, and that works for him. I personally just don't meditate in the morning because when I wake up, I want to get the dogs, I want to feed them, I want to be with them. I don't want to then go in a quiet room by myself without my dogs. So I don't meditate in the morning. You have to find what works for you. But what I'm telling you is if you meditate 5 minutes, you're going to sleep better. You're going to eat better. You're going to feel better. And all it takes is 5 minutes. So with a quick show of your hands, how many of you already meditate in some fashion? Doesn't matter what you do. Yeah. So a lot of your cameras are off, so I can't see everyone, but it doesn't have to be these big, extravagant, detailed techniques. And this goes into the mindset. This was also in this You Are Psychic book that I read. When you're meditating, it helps calm the system, which then allows all the psychic senses, what we talked about, the head, the ears, the belly area, it allows all of that to come up to the surface because a lot of it is pushed down and pushed down. Just because our modern day society doesn't nurture having these abilities. Like even with me, when I first started this work, I didn't like using the word psychic. I didn't like saying pet psychic. I said animal communicator because for me, I was like, oh, psychic, that has such a taboo like meaning and people are not going to like want to see my page or look at my stuff if I'm saying psychic. And then it just started flowing because I just got out of that. That was like such a narrow mindset of like psychic. And we're all psychic. It's a muscle. Like Mike mentioned earlier, there's times where he connects with our animals or he'll say something that one of the dogs wants. And in the beginning, both of us would say, well, are you sure? How do you know that? But now when it happens, we're both like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So when you're meditating, it opens up all the psychic senses and it shifts your mindset. This is a really good analogy that I love. And I always come back to when I'm kind of getting in my own way. Imagine like receiving a radio broadcast. Okay. If you are tuned into 101.5, you can't logically expect to hear what's being played on 99.2. You're on different frequencies. So if you are thinking, I want more money, I want a better job, I want a partner that is caring and affectionate, you're saying what you want, but there's so much resistance. The focus is on the lack of what you have. So you're saying 101.5, but you're trying to receive what's on 99.2. You can't do that. You got to bring them into alignment. So instead of saying, I want a new job, I need this, shift it up a bit. Try and say, wouldn't it be nice if I had X? Wouldn't it be nice if I made $10,000 more every year? Because when you phrase it that way, the response is, yeah, hell yeah, that would be really sweet. It's positive, as opposed to, I need $10,000 more a year. The focus is on what you don't have. So by shifting what you say and how you phrase what you want, desires, you got to bring your desire into alignment with what it is that you actually desire. Because when our thoughts and our action, or when what we want, what we're thinking, saying to ourselves, when there's resistance and the focus is on the lack, we're not opening ourselves up. And then our psychic and intuition kind of constricts because we're focused on what we don't have, and we're not this wide open being. An example of this is, imagine that there's a beautiful city, whether you're a city person or not. There's a small little city. It's beautiful. It's not too busy. There's not a lot of traffic, great parks. The housing is perfect, amazing food, live music if you like that every weekend. But there's a pothole, a really, really big pothole on 6th Avenue. If you focused on the positives of this city, you'd likely live happily ever after. Most of us, however, have not been introduced in our life by someone pointing out the positives of everything. Instead, our path has kind of been laid out by, watch out for the pothole on 6th Ave. You don't want to run it over and blow up your tires. Like, don't go down that road. So because the negativity around most of us and how our family, and no offense to our parents, sometimes they just don't know because they're only doing what they've been taught. So when most of the focus is around the negative, we're consumed by that pothole. So we miss every other part of the city. So a good reminder is, throughout your days and your job, your work, your home, remove your attention from the city's potholes and see how that changes things for you. Because the more you focus on what you don't like or what you don't have, the more you're going to get that, because that's what you're focusing on, which goes back to what I said earlier. I want more money. Well, the focus is on the lack. So wouldn't it be nice if I had 10 grand more a year? That's a much better focus. 2 more things before I pass it off to Michael that kind of ties it all together. And you guys might be thinking, I thought this was like a psychic development class. I want to know what to do to be psychic. Tell me to do X, Y, and Z. It's not like that, guys. It's a lot simpler, actually. There's nothing that I need to say to you to do this, and do this, and you're going to be this psychic wizard. We all have the ability. So it's just getting out of our own way and allowing our body to do what it innately is doing every day for us. Back to the grabbing the chip or the candy bar example, and you drop it. The body knows. We just got to let it do its job. This practice was a game changer for me. It's called segment intending. Segment intending. Every day you're laying in bed, you open your eyes, you enter into a new segment. Okay. You get out of bed, you get dressed, you're in a new segment. You start walking to brush your teeth, you're in a new segment. Every segment, choose how you're going to approach that. What do I mean by that? You're cooking dinner, your phone rings. New segment. Okay. You don't know where your phone is, so you have to go find it. Instead of saying, oh crap, I don't know where my phone is, I can never find my phone. No. That negativity is your intention for that segment. Instead, I'm going to find my phone with ease. Where is it coming from? You pick up your phone. Before you answer, you're about to enter a new segment. How do you want that phone call to go? Say it's your friend calling, you know she's in a bad mood. Set the intention. How do you want that? How are you going to have your energy handle that phone call? You leave your house, you're walking to the parking. No, I'm sorry. You leave work, you're walking to your car. You're in a new segment. So in that segment, I'm going to enjoy the fresh air. Wow, it feels really nice today. Look at that tree. It's blooming. The bird is sounding so cool. You get into your car. You're in a new segment. Traffic's going to be great when I am driving home. I'm going to get home easily. All the other drivers are going to be fully present and aware. They're going to notice me. There's not going to be any accidents. And this sounds kind of ridiculous because you're like, Nikki, I can't possibly break my day into that many segments. And yeah, you're not going to remember to do this all day long. But the times that you do remember, it's going to change everything because you're going to be like, oh, I'm in a new segment. How do I want this segment to go? And it turns into a fun game. So I do it all the time now. And sometimes it's just a simple like, I'm walking up steps and I'm like, oh, I'm going to not slip, or I'm going to hit every step and it's going to be good. Or I'm walking next door to my grandparents and I make the intention like I'm going to enjoy the feel of the grass on my feet. Because by doing this, even the simplest, I want to enjoy the grass on my feet, it lifts your energy and it brings you to the present moment. Because a lot of our modern day world is you got to do this and you got to do this and you got to be here and there and da 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 da. And we're all over the place. So it's finding ways to bring ourselves back here, because that's when everything internal is right here. So if we're all out here, we're not really focusing on what's here in the body, present moment. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? And if you're happy and you're joyful and you're enjoying your life, you are going to enhance your psychic abilities. You're going to be more intuitive. When I was a lawyer and I was leaving the house at 6 a.m. and getting home at 7:30, I had no time for anything. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing anything. Mike and I weren't really well then. Our relation, that's a conversation for another day. We'll probably do a podcast on that, but our relationship was not the best. Now he's my best friend. So you have to think about all these things in your world. If you don't like your job, if you're in a toxic relationship, if you have drug or alcohol, substance abuse issues, all of that stuff is going to make it harder for the psychic and intuitive abilities to thrive. So I don't want any of you to think you can't do this, because you can. I'm 33. I didn't even learn this was possible until 28. And now it's my full-time job. The last thing before I pass it on to Michael: exercise. Stick with me here. This was the second biggest struggle for me, because apart from the meditation, that was the big one too. I don't like going to the gym. I don't enjoy lifting weights. I don't enjoy running. I could do group fitness classes, or if I had a personal trainer, but personal trainers are expensive. So I never found anything that I enjoyed. And if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to stick with it. And then I found Pure Barre, and I love Pure Barre, and I do it online at my home. And it's cheap. It's awesome. You have to find something you like. When I started not meditating, yes, but when I started working out consistently, and I'm saying a half hour, guys, the most I do is 45 minutes, because the workouts are only 45 minutes. If they had hour workouts, I probably wouldn't choose them anyway. So I started working out. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a half hour workout, because we all can do a half hour workout. Just get up a little bit earlier. You spend your time looking at Facebook. I call it doom scrolling for more than a half hour. When I started working out, and I didn't meditate the past 2 days, and I keep saying it because my body's like, you're not meditating, but I was just being human. When I started working out consistently, half hour, 20 minutes actually is what I started with, 20 minutes. Again, my communications were flowing better. I was doing them more consecutive days in a row. I was feeling more confident. I was sleeping better. I was eating better. All those chips that I was dropping, I didn't want them, so I wasn't even picking them up. And all it took, guys, was 25 minutes, 5 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of working out. And I saw a huge difference. You have to build one of these habits at a time. You cannot get off this call today and say, I'm going to work out. I'm not going to eat cookies. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to find out about you. If you have 5 or 6 things you want to tackle tomorrow, I love you, but you're not going to succeed. And if you do, you are amazing and help me with your ways. It's not, we're going to get overwhelmed. So for me, what I started with was the meditation. I wanted to build that habit first. When something you do becomes a habit, meaning something that you enjoy, it's no longer considered a chore. That's when it's habit. Meditation, I got it to be a habit. Every night, 8:30, I go into the other room and I sit there. Never more than 20 minutes usually. And that became a habit. So then I was like, okay, now I'm going to try and get the working out habit started. And I played around with, if I don't work out in the morning, it's not going to happen. Even if I have nothing to do all day long, if I don't do it before 8 a.m., it's not going to happen. And I just know me. That's just how it is. Like today, for example, I didn't work out because I didn't do it. And then I had time, but then I was like, well, I want to like lay outside, or I could have worked out. So I did it every day. I built the habit. And everything in my business, my animal communications, got so much better. 25 minutes. So when you do these practices, everything in your life is going to change. People around you are going to change, because when you are doing better and you're vibrating higher, even if people aren't living in your home, people who are around you, you're going to see changes in them, because we're all energetic beings, right? I said in the beginning, if someone's coming up behind you, you feel them. How? Because you're picking up their energy. So if you're in a really bad mood, your coworker, they feel it. They're like, whoa, what happened to you? Like, what's going on? Whereas if someone's really happy, you're like, wow, like you're glowing. Like what you're so happy today. What happened? It's the same thing. So how you are is going to affect those around you. So with family, it's really cool, because if family sometimes is the biggest struggle, because family doesn't listen to family. There's even times where like Mike recommends I do something and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. You know, he says it like a 17,000 times. And then I watch a YouTube video or something and I'm like, hey, babe, look at this. Like, this is a great idea. He's like, really? I've only been saying that for 2 years, right? So family doesn't listen to family. It just is, it is what it is. So if you focus on yourself and don't worry about anyone else, you're going to help them just by changing you. And it's really that simple. So what we're going to do is take a couple-minute break, go potty. Don't check your phone, because then you're going to be late. So we're going to take a 3-minute break, and then Michael's going to lead you guys through an exercise to really bring all of this together.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. You can, I don't know if it's quite been 3 minutes, but we can find our way back to our chairs and no rush, just so you guys can hear my voice coming across that speaker, letting you know that we're getting ready to start again. And like I said, we are going to have a question and answer. So if you have any questions from what Nikki was just saying, would be a great idea if you wrote them down. We're going to do some writing. A pen and paper is going to be a tool for us today. So make sure that you have that ready. And I want to hear, what was your biggest takeaway? Like, type in the chat. Like, what was your favorite thing that Nikki was going over for you? I know she kind of went through a lot of things, but just like a 2 or 3 word description of what really resonated with you. There's actually some stuff that I heard that I never heard before because I was listening on another computer, so it was kind of interesting for even me. Very cool. Kim says shift the focus. Yeah, that third eye shift that she taught, it's very powerful because your third eye is an antenna, and when you learn to start to work with it, it'll change your life dramatically. How to overcome not being able to meditate. Yeah, that's a good one. I never realized my body was talking to me. Oh, that's a huge one. If you can walk away, start listening to your body, trusting your intuition, choosing to bring happiness and joy into each segment, that's powerful, very powerful. Beautiful. Raising your vibration through simple practices. The world complicates everything, right? Every single thing the world complicates. The simplistic nature is everything. And some of our mentors in our life, I don't like to use the word powerful, but I'm going to use that word. Some very deep, powerful people that have mentored us in some things in life. You know what? They're the simplest people. They're family men, they're family people. Their lives are so simple, but yet when you really get to know them and what they can offer, it's very deep. So the simplistic nature of things goes a long way. Segment intending, I drop so much stuff all day long. Yeah, and every time you hit your head, remember, every time you hit your head or stub your toe or bang your arm against the wall, immediately think, what was going through my head? What was that trying to show me? So that's another thing about the body. So let's begin. Let us begin. I would like you to type one more thing in the chat, and that is this question. What do you think is the biggest thing that gets in the way of your intuitive and psychic abilities currently in the modern world? What do you think that is? You could talk to it generally speaking or in your own personal life if you want to answer it. Mental rambling, iPhone, self-doubt. Yes, doubt, trust yourself, stress, 100, non-believer judgment, 100%, life work, ego. All beautiful stuff. Yes. Self-esteem, negative thoughts, myself, not enough downtime. Well, all of this today, my intent for you is we're going to work into your lifestyle a little bit. We're going to have you walk away with something that you'll be able to look at and that will help you develop a life that is going to be able to receive these intuitive and psychic senses that our body has. Okay? So one of the biggest things that gets in the way of your intuitive and psychic nature as a human being is fear. And if you look at a lot of the comments about what's going on in the past comments about when I said, what do you think gets in the way? A lot of it can stem from fear, doubt, low self-esteem, even a chattering mind. A lot of it can be fear. And if you look at what's going on in the modern world, we are being blasted with fear minute by minute by minute. And that gets in the way of our psychic and intuitive abilities, because our psychic intuitive abilities can only flow when we're not doubting, when we're not in that fear state mind. We must the vibration must be at a particular level for us to fulfill these things. And I will say this, there is a shift on the planet. And a lot of you are part of this new shift because this stuff intrigues you, right? You're here to learn this stuff. If we would have made this seminar or this workshop 20 years ago, we would be considered like cuckoo-y and woo-woo-y, right? But now it's just like, hey, this is reality. This stuff is here. It's here to stay. So what you're seeing is a shift in the energy on planet Earth in general. So we are becoming more of a human being, and these things that we're developing and that we're looking into developing are becoming like we're intrigued by them. We want them because our lives become better. So I just encourage each and every single one of you to keep pursuing this path and keep diving into this seeking nature inside of you, because it's going to flourish like a flower and your life is going to continue to get better. Okay. So back to the fear. I'm going to just play some like real calming music. And I would like all of us to just dedicate the next minute or so to letting go of fear. Because we're going to, everything that we're going to be diving into now, we want to be receiving these things from a place of no fear. So I'm going to play some music here. Deborah, I see you in my screen. Can you give me a thumbs up if you hear the music? Awesome. All right, my family, my psychic and intuitive family, let us all close our eyes and just allow the music to calm you. And let us set an intention. We can speak to our body because our body holds fear vibration. And let's just tell our body to let it go. We can speak to our emotional body, our emotions. Let us shift into an emotion right now that is zero fear and just all happiness and love and good vibes. And give yourself full permission to be here. And just take a deep breath, all of us at once. Just take a deep breath in and let it out. We will be continuing. So now I would like you to get your pen and paper ready. And I would like you to write these words down. I would like you to write these 5 words down. And if you would like to, you can make like this piece of paper dedicated to outside of maybe if you were taking notes, like create this very specifically for what it is that we will be doing together. And those 5 words, I would like you to write down and leave 1 space in between each of the 5 words. So the first word is internal. The second word is external. The third word is relationships. The fourth word is communication. And the fifth word is health. So we have internal, we have external, relationships, communication, and health. Order does not matter. I'm going to describe to you what we are going to be doing with these 5 words. We are going to create a framework for our lives, a framework that is going to invite in intuitive and psychic abilities, the nature of our higher self, everything that we want to be. This framework is going to be a guiding tool for you to have when you walk away with today. Because just coming together in this group, just coming together, listening to Nikki and I, just coming together with the intention to let go of the fear and to enhance our psychic and intuitive abilities, that alone, your vibration is raised than before you came. So it's very important to give the power to what you're about to create and realize that we are dedicating our higher self to allow it to come through and to create something that I can rely on in the future as being a pure source of information for myself. And what this framework is these 5 areas kind of cover like a framework of your life, right? Internal refers to your internal reality. External, back to the internal reality. Your internal reality is your self-talk, your perception of others, how you view yourself, how you communicate in your mind, like to the world. It's whatever happens inside your head as yourself when no one else can hear you or see you, or, who are you? That internal reality. External reality is very simple. It's what you physically can touch. Okay. So it could be your house, the things, your clothes, your physical appearance, your car, like anything. So the external is the external reality. Relationships, that's pretty simple. But when I talk about relationships for this exercise, I am referring to the closest realities in your life. Husband, coworkers, kids, family, the people that you're around the most in your life. That is what I mean by the closest realities. Communication, that word's pretty self-explanatory, and when we move through it, I'll tell you exactly how to what I mean with that deeper. But communication to the parts of our life that we're going to be covering. And health is simple. That's just simple. Any aspect of health. Okay. So what we're going to do with these 5 areas of your life, that we're going to create a framework, and we're going to move through them together now. And once again, it's important that you realize how important it is for you to realize that you are in a higher vibration right now. So allow yourself to be in that place. So for the internal reality, you came here for a psychic and intuition development workshop. And one thing that Nikki and I really want you to understand is that how important your life is in order to enhance these things that are inside of you. We live a particular way, not because we do choose to live this way, but really got us into the lifestyle that we are now is because we wanted to enhance these aspects of our life. That became more important than living like most of the world does. A simple lifestyle is where these intuitive and psychic abilities flourish. It's saying no to the crazy world and the way the crazy world puts the expectations on you, and you constantly have to be doing something or wanting more or be involved in the drama or the fear-based systems that are being taught to everyone. The more we let go of these systems that have been programmed on us, the more you are going to free up your intuitive and psychic abilities. So your life is your life. It's so important to understand that. And that is what we want you to walk away with, because Nikki and I were at a point where our relationship was devastated. Our life was falling apart. I was self-destructive. I was an alcoholic. I mean, I was a mess. My life was down very poorly. And when we started to tap into this stuff and we dedicated our whole life to ourselves to develop these things inside of each and every single one of us, our entire reality changed. And now we are using these skills. We're getting into teaching them to people, and we also use them in sessions outside of all this. So, moving back into the framework, I want you to write down one thing in your internal reality that would take you in the direction that you want to go, a change or a perception or something you want to bring awareness to for this. And please write that down now. It's not anything big, but anything in the realm of your internal reality that you know if you would change, shift, or work on, it would take you in the direction that you want to go. Secondly, we're going to move to the external reality. Your external reality is anything that you can touch, and it has a huge, huge role in your psychic and intuitive abilities. Because if you are in a home that is not, what's that word? Feng shui. If it doesn't flow for you, if you don't have a spot in your house or your wherever you live that you can go that you just feel good in, then you're not going to have a place like a portal for you to step into. So, what can you change in your physical reality, in your external reality, that is going to help your energy flow in life? Clean your car, clean your house, get that piece of furniture you've always wanted, or get rid of that piece of furniture that you no longer want. Is it get rid of some old clothes? Is it buy that piece of clothing that you just see yourself in that's going to just make you smile because you get it? What in your external reality can change? Next, we are going to move into relationships. What relationship in your life, in the closest realities, do you see that you can give some attention to make more clear, to become more transparent with, or to drop the expectations and to just love? Instead of wanting to change, you just love just because they are who they are. I can't express to you how much this will free up energy in your life when you release some of this energy that can get caught up in the midst of relationships. Mom, dad, coworkers, anything. And if any of you are having trouble figuring out your answer, it's kind of typically the first one that comes to mind. Once again, your intuition is normally the first thing that comes through you. So use it as a skill to listen to this exercise. Next is communication. This word covers more of a broader perspective, but I'm going to give you an example of an exercise that I do with a lot of my clients. So you could either use this exercise as an example for your answer, or you could think about it in your own way. So when we communicate with people, are we communicating with them authentically? Are we saying what we just want them to hear, or are we speaking from our heart? Are we not wanting to hurt their feelings, so we just keep avoiding them and we're passive aggressive when we speak? Or when maybe we're just not being clear with our words because we're not clear? Now, here's an example that I was talking to you about that I work with a lot of people. And this one is like it cuts to the root of communication problems in people's lives. And this will free up so much energy, particularly in your psychic and intuitive centers, because it right in around that navel area is where is tension is held in the midst of relationships. Okay. Typically men, it's in their low back, and women hold it in their woman organs. And those are very powerful energy centers in the human being. And when that starts to free up, energy's flowing. So here's the example. I call it impossible conversations. What conversation in your life do you know that you want to have that would free up energy in your life, no matter without thinking about how difficult it would be to have? It could be forgiveness. It could be guilt, shame, telling the truth about something. It could be something that you need to express. And this conversation could be in the back of your head for 10 years, 20 years. It doesn't matter. What is the conversation? There's one. Sometimes there's many. But which of those conversation is like there for you? You know it. Like as soon as I said that, one came to your head. You will free up so much energy in your life when you start to have these, what I call impossible conversations. This is how Nikki and I healed our relationship, not only with ourselves, but with our family and everyone around us. Because after you start to clear these impossible conversations out of your life, you start to not need to do it anymore because you become present and transparent from then forward, and you're not creating that stuck energy anymore, and you speak from your intuition. When that starts to happen in your life, you never worry about what you said. Does anyone ever do that? Does everyone ever, like, on their drive home, they're like, oh, I wonder if I should have said that, right? Or like, maybe I shouldn't have said that to those people because I don't know what they're going to think. And then your mind just starts going down this rabbit hole. We all do it from time to time. But some people, they really get stuck in it and they're constantly thinking about conversations that happened like days and weeks ago. And this is because you're not speaking from your intuition. When you start to speak in from the heart coherence and you tap into everything that comes out of your mouth as your truth, because you cleared those channels to get to that place, you'll never second guess yourself again. And it's a beautiful place to be. It takes dedication, consistency, and work with practices like what we're doing. So I encourage every single one of you to be real honest with yourself in this category, because this is a big one. And if you think it's going to crack something wide open in a relationship or it's going to cause you pain, that's fear. Because the truth of it is the other person is reciprocating the same stuck energy in their life, and they may not even know it. So when you have that conversation, you're going to free up energy between the both of you. And because you're the one on the call today and you're the one that are seeking this side of life a little bit more, you're more aware of it. So just because they're not aware of it does not mean that it's not there. So I encourage you, what impossible conversation can you have in your life? The next one is health. This one is very simple. What is a step that you can take in health? Very simple. Could be anything. Something tangible, something that you can really see yourself doing. Like, a lot of times we wake up in the day and things cross our mind and we just shove them away. Well, most of the time that is your intuition trying to give you a message about what would be the best course of action for yourself. But the old patterns have more momentum than our intuition. When you start to live your life, the intuition gains more momentum than the old patterns, and then the old patterns start to break and drift away. Health is so important. Nikki talked about exercising. There's another side of it, which is food. There's another side of it, sleep. These simple aspects of being a human being that we do not take care of, our bodies cannot optimize these intuitive and psychic abilities. What's something you're eating too much of that you could let go of? What's something that you want to eat more of? Diet, I cannot express to each and every single one of you how important what you put into your body is. The waters and the foods you drink will either liberate you or not liberate you. The pineal gland that Nikki was talking about, the third eye, it's located in the middle of the brain, back behind your eyes, you'll see the Indian people wear dots around that region, and it looks like a pine cone. That's why it's called the pineal gland. And most people, this gland becomes calcified. You're not going to find this in allopathic modern medicine. You'll find it in the Eastern studies and the Eastern medicine. But the pineal gland becomes calcified. And when our pineal gland is calcified due to stress, due to the EMFs that are everywhere that we're getting blasted with, when our pineal gland is calcified, we are not, it's like there's a piece of our computer that's damaged. How are we supposed to receive psychic and intuitive thoughts, perceptions, feelings, ideas when our transmitter, our antenna in our mind is clogged up, junked up, and calcified? When you start to eat for your psychic and intuitive abilities because you like the way you feel, tapping into that higher self, your entire life will change. And it's a struggle. It's a long thing. So I dive deep into this with people, with what foods and water and things like that to be eating. But I'm just going to leave it real basic for all of you, is the processed foods. And if you're living off of bottled water, if you're living off of tap water out of a faucet in a municipal water supply, it is not good. You want pure, clean water. And on my channel, I go into this a lot more. And I actually have a video how to open your pineal gland with water, which I encourage all of you to look at. It's the modern world is a toxic world. So if we really want to open ourselves up, we got to put extra work into our life, because the water and the foods and everything, it's just not conducive to these elements of our human beingness to be activated. And I don't want to get too much into this side of it, but it's kind of done on purpose. Kind of, not really. I mean, half of it's like on purpose. The other half is kind of because the people that are making things operate, they don't know any better. All right. My channel name is my name, Michael Vasquez. And I have videos on there that teach you about what water to drink and some of the foods and stuff like that. And they will help you. Water's the fastest way. Drinking the waters that I recommend is one of the fastest ways to open up your pineal gland. And these exercises that we teach you send energy to that area. And when you work these areas, just like building biceps, you start to free that energy up. Okay. And the heavy metals, another thing, one of the biggest things that get in the way of your pineal gland being activated. And that's found in a lot of the poor things that we drink, the poor things that we put in our body. And I just want to let each and every single one of you know, you can have a turnaround that is pretty quick when you start to make these lifestyle changes, because I was very sick. I was plagued with a lot of toxins, a lot of chemicals from when I was in the service and the way that I lived. And my body was very sick. My liver was shot. My digestive system was shot. I looked 5 years older than I did back then than I do now. So, and if you would have told me about what is intuitive stuff and freeing up your pineal gland, I would have been like, you're like, I don't know what that is, because it wasn't in my reality. So you can really start to feel the difference. I mean, in like weeks, when you start to take care of yourself in these ways. All right. So I want you to look down at that piece of paper, and please close your eyes and keep your focus down on the piece of paper. And with your eyes shut, tap back into that intuitive center that you did with Nikki, back in the third eye. Allow that gaze, your eyeballs, to almost like feel like they're gazing back into that center eye. And I want you to lean over your paper with your eyes shut, and I want you to ask your intuition, just tap into it, don't open your eyes yet. But when you do open your eyes, I want you to circle the one of the words on that list that is the tip of the spear for you, that big one in your life. So go ahead and open your eyes and right away circle the piece of your framework that stands out to you the most. And then I want you to put it in the chat. You don't have to give exactly what it was. Just type in the chat internal, external communication. You don't have, unless you want to, that's fine. But sometimes this stuff gets really personal. So it's up to you. Somebody mentioned an RO system. Awesome. Good for you to have that. That is good. Kim talked about communication. Liad internal. Florence internal. Luke said thanks. Monique health. Desiree external. Stacy relationships. Trish internal self. Amy external. Awesome. Water, big one. Yes. You know, I know I'm talking a lot about water. One simple practice for water is the only thing that you drink is water. Like there's so many other drinks out there on planet Earth, right? Like all these health drinks and all this stuff. But let me tell you, fresh juiced vegetable juices just out of the juicer or water or tea, you know, if you got your tea, and if you're a coffee drinker, okay. But everything else, or unless you want to crack a coconut open and get the water out of that, everything else, it's not suiting you too well. It's just stuff for fun. Maria, ears have been ringing like crazy for myself and my husband. Hey, that's a sign of connection. Luke, exercise. The ears ringing, if it's not a painful ringing and it's bringing bringing havoc to your life, because there's that side of it too. But typically, when ears start to ring, it can be it's part of an awakening symptom. It depends on Maria. Depending on where your EMF towers are, you can purchase things for your home that will protect you against your EMFs. So back to the framework. I want to now go over with you how to use this framework. Okay. That framework sitting in front of you was created by you. It was created for you. I didn't sit here and tell you what to write down on the paper. You did. And you did it from a good vibration, a pure vibration with intention to better yourself. So when you walk away from this course tomorrow, a week from now, and you know, things start to settle down and maybe some old patterns bust back up, because I hope every single one of you leaves this workshop like hooking and jabbing, like ready to rock, like ready to implement something new in your life, right? That's typically it's the energy we want to send you. But then you might get hit with some bad news, or you might watch the news. I would avoid doing that. Or somebody might come and just have a conversation with you and just like dump some crazy stuff on you, and it lowers your vibration, and that momentum and that inertia that you created kind of gets hit. Hop back on the framework. Look at what's in front of you. Okay? The path to where you want to go is simple, and it's written down on that piece of paper. Those 5 areas of your life encompass great aspects of your life. And there's one more point before Nikki comes back in, and we're going to go over some Q&As with all of you, question and answers. Here's the biggest thing is in our life, when we want to change, we want something to change. So say we want to lose weight or we want something to change, or we want a relationship. We want, and we pound it, the square peg into the round hole. We want, right? But sometimes we have to take a step back and ask what wants us, what inside of us want to change. It's not always about, I want this to happen. I want to be a psychic, so I'm going to just do these 5 things every single day from here on out. It has to come from your intuition naturally. It's like a river that flows through your life. So when you look at the framework, let's use that impossible conversation for my example here. That impossible conversation right now to you seems totally impossible. Like there's no way that can happen. So don't worry about it. It's okay. It's in your field. You brought it into your energetic field now. It's going to happen one day. Just know that it's going to happen. Focus on your health for a little bit. Give some attention to that. Get the momentum rolling, and then shift your focus to your external reality. I'm going to clean my car today. I'm going to straighten a drawer out that's been driving me insane. And then, okay, that was fun. That shifted some energy around. I'm going to focus on my internal reality for a while. How I view myself. What type of self-doubt? How's my self-esteem? How many times am I telling me, how many times in my head am I saying, I need, instead of I want or I don't want? Self-talk is so powerful. I should do this. I should do that. Or you want to do it or you don't want to do it. So constantly placing your attention onto different powerful aspects of your life is going to keep your life spiraling in the right direction instead of getting stuck in a circle like a dog chasing a tail. We want to break out of that. So if something doesn't want to change in your life, it's okay. It's not ready to. It's still calcified a little bit. You gotta warm up the glue that's holding it on, and you do that by focusing on the other areas because they all complement each other. So frustration, that type of stuff, it's okay. Just don't worry about it. You have to let the intuition flow like the river of life that keeps you alive. It flows in the same methodology, in the same patterns through your body. If you hit your head, it's for a reason. It really is. If you drop something, like what Nikki was saying, if you drop something, it's because your body might not want it. So when you start to tap into like these feelings of, yeah, my body didn't want that, or like now's not the right time for that, your whole life will change because now you're focusing on a different dimension of your life. So we are going to tap into some question and answers. So I would like all of you to, if you have any questions down, to write them down. I'm going to pause this. We're going to set up again, get next to each other here. So you got about, well, let's say we have another minute break. All right. And then we're going to tap back into some question and answers. See you soon. Welcome back. Nikki's back with us. All right. Now we're just going to hang out, everybody, and we're going to answer some questions. This is going to be like fun time, chill time, family time. Okay. Let's switch over to gallery mode here.
So we can unspotlight us.
Okay.
Okay. We are on gallery mode. So now we can see all your faces.
For those of you that aren't totally familiar with Zoom, if you go down in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see an option of.
He might want that up.
It's been up all day.
There might be a question.
To raise your hand. So you can go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question, and then we'll call on you.
So guys, on the menu bar, there's a spot where it says reactions. You can raise your hand down there, not your actual physical hand. If you click on reactions, you can choose to raise your hand, then it'll put a little emoji on the top left of your screen for us to see. And if you can't figure that out, that's fine. Just, yeah, you guys are getting it. Perfect.
Or you can type in, if you have a question, you can type it in the chat and then we can go over them at the end too, time permitting.
Okay. AK, you've had your question up, your hand up for a while. I don't know if you have a question or if that was just by accident. If you can unmute yourself and let us know. Or you can actually ask to unmute them. I don't know if they're able to unmute themselves. No, okay.
All right, we're going to go with Kim North. I'm going to unmute you, Kim. There you go.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you both. Amazing stuff. And I have like 4 pages of notes here. 2 questions that I have, and I know you directed us to some links. And so if that's where I need to go, just let me know. I am extremely sensitive to EMF and was curious if you have actual recommendations for protection. I've done a lot of research and there's a whole lot out there, but whether or not they work or not, I don't know.
Yeah. So what you can do is there's 2 things. You want to go to blueshieldUSA.com, I think is the website, or you can just Google Blue Shield, and they have devices that you can plug into your wall that expand and radiate out into your home, and they're going to cancel out the harmful effects of the frequencies. They don't
Perfect.
block them. What they do is they harmonize them so they're not as damaging to your nervous system. And the second thing is I would recommend looking into doing some heavy metal detoxes, because if you're very susceptible to EMFs, it means that you have things inside of your body that are responding to the frequencies. And typically the 2 things that really can plague you down are parasites and heavy metals. Okay. So you could look into detoxing like gently and safely, heavy metals out, and I think you would feel a lot better. And as for the one more thing, do you live in a home or an apartment?
Home.
If you have a home, do you have a smart meter?
I don't think so.
Okay. If
I
you
don't know.
have, what state do you live in?
Colorado.
Okay. Yeah, they may not. Colorado is like more of an outdoorsy state. You guys may not have went there, but I'm from Pennsylvania, and they put smart meters on all the houses, and they put up serious heavy EMFs, and people don't realize that, but they make devices that can go around it to protect you. So if you don't have one, that's good. That was just a thought that I just had. But the biggest thing is that home harmonizer.
Kim, you'll know if you have a smart meter if you go look at your meter. If it has like a digital display on it, that's a smart meter. If it has like the old school bars, like a lever, that's not a smart meter.
Okay, I will check into that. Second thing, kind of on the same thing, and I think you are going to direct me to his channel, but talking about water, I know that's super important, and we go through a bottled water service that's artesian water, but my question is, like, how do you tell if it's pure clean water? Because I know there's a lot of stuff that's advertised and then they run a bunch of tests and it's not.
Yeah, so what you want, my recommendations is that you buy a machine, you buy a water distiller. It's a $260 machine, or you can buy a whole house one depending on the size of your family. You'll never have to buy water again, and you can use the water coming out of your spigot, and it distills it and gives you 0 ppm water, perfectly clean, perfectly clear. And that's typically what I recommend, because some of the bottled water companies, there's no chemicals or pesticides in it, but it has a high count of parts per million. And that's what you want to get down to. And that's not talked about very much.
Okay, perfect.
Kim, in the chat, I sent all of you Mike's link tree. If you click on that, he has a free water wisdom health course, or actually it might say free health courses now. It has all of that in there. So all the information about the type of distiller he recommends, that's all in there for you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Those are my 2 questions right now.
Perfect. Thank you. If you could put your hand down, Kim, that would be great.
Yep.
I think I can put it down. There we go.
Brad, go ahead. We'll unmute you. Actually, you're already unmuted.
I should be unmuted. I just don't talk. So I got 2 questions. I've only been a TikTok, what do you call it, subscriber of yours for like a week. So I've only seen a couple of yours, but you mentioned that you look at a picture of the animal, you're not with the animal at all. What
Correct.
is the, and I don't want to say power, but I also do want to say power. What is the power of a picture?
For me,
Like, is there power in this picture?
Absolutely. So for me, I do my communications all remotely. I'm in my own home on my own time, just through a picture, because I find that I can get a lot deeper and get a lot more out of the session when it's quiet and I'm not distracted with the owner's energy, the animal's energy. If I'm in my silent room, I get so much more information. So when I first started doing animal communication, I never did it in person. All I did is look at a picture. I prefer to see the eyes. It makes it easier for me to connect. Some animal communicators, like the old school pioneers who have been doing this for 25 plus years, they don't even need a picture. They just ask for the animal's name and I guess gender. But for me, I like the picture because it just helps me connect better. But so it's what you're doing when you connect telepathically with animals is you're connecting with the essence, the spirit, the soul of the animal. So whether you are in person with that animal or just looking at a picture, you're still connecting in with the energy and the vibration that animal brings. I can't tell you how or why it works. It just does. And it's all I've ever done is
Right.
through the that
Well, and that was going to be my next question, is because I worked on a 22-year-old horse named Xerxes. He was one of those horses that helps horse therapy.
Mm-hmm.
When I started on him 1 week before he died, and I did one session every single day. And one of his sessions, I got unconscious, senselessness, and torture. And so I was like, this is weird. So I just sent the email going, okay, here. She goes, oh, we had to put him down or put him under because then we filled his stomach with oil to try and make him poop. And I was like, well, he's not swallowing and he feels like torture when he does. And she's like, oh, well, he does put food in his mouth, but he won't swallow. And I was like, well, he's feel like that's why he's not swallowing, because it feels like torture. And now here's my question. How did I do that?
You did it because that's what it's all about. When you intentionally connect in with another animal or human, it's telepathy is a universal language. There's no barriers. Language, Spanish, English, French, whatever. There's no barrier. You're connecting in with the soul, the energetic vibration of that being. And that's why I always say every single one of you on this call can talk to animals. It just takes practice. There's still times, Brad, where I do a session and I'm surprised, like, wow, like that was really good. Like how that's really specific. Like it still happens because there's still a part of us that's still going to kind of not doubt in the sense of, can I do this? Can I not? But the human part of us where it's like, am I really doing this? So the more you trust it, and kudos to you for the fact that you sent that email, because when you're first starting, and I'm not saying you, me, some of the things that would come through, I was nervous to say, because those are powerful words that you had: torture, pain.
Right.
Like you could have very easily not rephrased what you actually got, but when in fact what you received was spot on and exactly what they needed to hear, and it helped him. Well,
and then so another one, he had betrayal, and I was like, I'm not gonna send this email. I'm not doing betrayal. Give me some other emotion. I'm not going to start saying betrayal because I knew he was dying. And I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. So what about negative emotions or negative feelings that you get? Would you nix that, or do you write it in your report email?
What you just said, Brad, the betrayal, it might not have been he's feeling betrayed. It could have been the owners feeling like they're betraying him.
Right.
So you always have to remember, sometimes you pick up the emotions of the animal, but they're taking on the emotion from their human. So I say whatever comes through, no matter what, because the simplest thing that you think might have hurt their feelings, like betrayal, for example, right away, the owner could have been like, that's me. So what I say in my sessions is I record myself speaking and then I send the audio file. I say, if at first something doesn't make sense, you have to think of things through your animal's perspective, but also consider, is that emotion or that action or that ache or ailment, is it yours? Because our animals can take on our stuff. Just like if someone in your family, in your household is angry or upset, you kind of take on that sadness. It's the same thing. So
Mhm.
of course there's a way where when you're sending these communications, you want to deliver the message in a gentle way, but still accurate. And that just comes with practice. And you don't want to come off like rude and arrogant, but you do want to convey what's being said. So what you can do is ask the animal, how can I, in your mind, you can just say, how can I deliver this message in a way that your humans will be receptive to receiving? Because really when you doubt or you're saying, I can't do that, that's the human brain getting in the way. Your job is not to interpret what you're receiving. Your job is just to relay it. And your job as an animal communicator also isn't to fix the problem. It's just to explain what the animal is saying. But that'll come with practice.
Yep.
Thank you, Brad. Desiree, go ahead. Oops, I think I accidentally muted you. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So I'm a dog groomer and I work with pets every day, and I work in home actually at like I would come into your home and groom your dog. So it's very personal. I have had a couple instances where I've had communication with animals clear as day, like you can hear them. But how do you initiate your contact, like when you're starting a session? Because I have dogs that I specialize in high anxiety and seniors, and I have some that are deaf or like, so some of them just require more care, and I would love to further that communication with them.
That's an awesome niche, by the way.
Yeah. House call.
You'll nail it. It's what I do is very simple. I just visualize my heart connecting with their heart.
Okay.
And back to what Brad was saying, it's easier for me when I'm not with the dog and the dog is maybe a little nervous, they're about to get groomed. That's going to make it maybe a little bit harder for you.
Okay.
But it might not. Everyone's different. So just imagine close your eyes, imagine your heart connecting with the animal's heart, and just ask, how can I best support you? And I taught 2 introduction to animal communication workshops a month ago. I have the recordings available for super cheap if you want to watch them. We talk with 6 different animals. I'm going to do another live class, probably we're in May, maybe next month.
Okay.
But it's very simple. It's not like a big detailed process. It's just centering yourself and intentionally connecting in with that animal, whether picture or in person, and just trusting what you receive. So by doing everything that we've talked about here and building the intuitive and psychic abilities, the thoughts are going to come.
I think it comes more often than I realize, through my day-to-day actions. And I see my clientele is pretty small, so I see the same dogs all the time, and I'm able to watch them progress. But the first time it ever really hit me that what was happening, and then I found an account, of course, it's just how it works.
And you're
I had
touching
a dog on the table. What was that?
You're touching the animals a lot, so you're using a
physical connection as well. Yeah. And water when we're doing the bath. So you add the water fact to it. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty strong. But the first time was I had a dog. She was super anxious. The mother-in-law was home, not the normal owners. They were going to be out of town. And the dog was just more than normal. And in my head, I heard her say, "My mommy's gone. Did you know that? I miss her so much." And I confirmed with the mother-in-law. I was like, "Oh, like just small talk, like have they been out of town?" She's like, "Actually, they've been gone for 2 weeks." And I was just mind blown. It was crazy. So that was my first intro. And then I found your TikTok, and here I am now.
I love it. And Desiree, what you just said goes to something someone said in the chat. Jane, how do you differentiate between logical mind and your intuition? It really just comes with trust and practice.
It does.
Yes. Like, because you very easily could have been like, oh, well, I knew the mom was away, so of course the dog misses the mom.
Right.
But how much cooler is it when you don't doubt what you got and you're like, that was from the animal? And then the more you trust, the more the messages are going to come through, because the more the animals realize that what they're sending you, you're receiving and understanding, and they send more and more and more. Yeah.
Super awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And
I'm going to answer one of these.
I just want to finish. I just want to finish the one question. Jane, the second part was differentiating between your logical mind. So the one last thing I want to say about that is, if you are, say you're doing not even animal communication, anything.
This goes for Reiki, like healing arts, like everything. All of it.
If you're tired, in a bad mood, have a headache, angry, your level of focus is at the physical senses, because it's really hard. Like for me, if I'm tired or I don't sleep well or eat too much the night before, I don't even try and do sessions, because I'm not as clear. So that's another thing when you're practicing this stuff is really how do you feel internally, which goes to what Michael was saying with his portion of our presentation today is in strengthening everything else, the internal, the external, the communications. It's going to make it easier for you to differentiate between intuitive or am I just stuck in my head, and imagination. Leah, the same thing. It's what I like to say is it's never imagination. And if you go with that, you're going to start seeing these messages coming through are really real. And like, say you get the thought, I need to call my brother right now. Or you just start thinking of him and you're like, I should call him. Call. And if the hunch or the nudge that you thought like so-and-so needs help, I'm going to call them. And then you call and they're like, no, I'm fine. Everything's great. Don't get discouraged because even though they say that, they might not have been. And that phone call might have been at the most perfect time. So it's just trusting and then you get better at it. So we'll go to one in the chat.
Yeah. Trusting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So Deborah asked, how do you start an impossible conversation with someone who doesn't want to hear what you have to say? This is a great question. And this is the essence of kind of why I created the impossible conversation thing. I don't even know what I call it because for everyone it's different. But the truth of it is you have to prepare the other person. We don't just jump into an impossible conversation. We say, hey, mom, I have this conversation that I've been wanting to have with you. It's out of love. So it's nothing bad, but it's just, it would really, really benefit my life if you allowed me to talk to you privately or together for 20 minutes. The conversation might be longer than 20 minutes, but you don't want to, one thing you may be best is just to say like 20 minutes or so, and the conversation you might go longer, but that way they don't hear like this long thing that you want to say to them, and just express to them authentically. And here's the key: use your intuition to talk to them. Use your intuition, use your heart to express what you want to tell them and ask them. It can be over the phone too. It doesn't have to be in person. Phone's very powerful. You could write a letter and read it to them. The most important thing is that you crack that egg with an initial conversation. There might be more to follow, but to crack that stuck energy that's there, and it's going to get flowing. That way they show up to the conversation, not on their phone, not stressed out. You set the boundaries and parameters up for the impossible conversation to take place and make it possible. And that's how you do it. And I've seen it work. Our life for 5 years was straight impossible conversations. I didn't have conversations with people unless they were borderline impossible. I'm not exaggerating. And I'm like a bird freeing in the wind anymore because so many blessings to that conversation. You can do it. You want to move on up here? Go
to Florence.
Oh, Florence.
And then we'll do one on the chat.
The water distiller.
If you can't get it.
If you can't get that machine, are you suggested to drink distilled water? No, I do not suggest you drink distilled water in bottles, because distilled water is meant to be kept only in glass because of the way the water is structured and charged. It's like an empty water and it's negatively charged. So water in plastic bottles, believe it or not, it leaches the stuff out of the plastic into the bottles. And so we kind of don't want to rely on bottled water ever.
Especially not distilled
water. So if you can't get that machine, I would just say do the best you can in the circumstance that you're in. But I would suggest working towards getting either and the second best thing past a water distiller is a reverse osmosis machine, but they're expensive to install in your house. And the reason I don't suggest RO right off the bat is because for every 1 gallon of water you get, you waste almost 7 gallons. So it's a lot of water that's wasted, but for most people, that's what you got to do. And RO water is awesome. It's a different technology. And the water distillation for me is what I recommend. So that's that.
All right.
Go over to Greg.
Greg, I'm going to unmute you. What's your question?
You talked about contracts with pets, that when we come here, we have a contract. There's a cat that lives in my apartment building, and her name is Nala, or Nala, yeah. She is like in love with me. She gets out of the house, she runs straight to my apartment, and she wants in, and they come take her away immediately, and she screams and growls, and I'm like, does she have a contract with me too? Because she's been with that person and his lover for 8 years, although the lovers knew, I believe, the original contract, I think, was with him. And then this other person came in. I don't know if she likes him, but she's trying to adopt me now. Is that possible?
It's totally possible. So our animals, they don't just have they aren't limited to one contract with one human. Animals are like these ultimate, superior, amazing beings, and they're here to teach us. Every single animal that comes into our life has taught us something. Maybe they drove us nuts. What were they bringing up within us? Or maybe they came into our life when we felt no love, or we felt that we like didn't have any value, so we needed to take care of like a senior animal. With whatever this cat is trying to show you. And also it could be the other owners too. Like is it a she?
It's a she, yeah.
She keeps running away to you. Within that action, there could be something that those owners need to learn. Maybe they're fighting or something's going on at home, and the cat constantly leaving is to bring awareness to their home life. And what I would suggest that you do is talk with her out loud, like I'm talking to you right now, because you mentioned that she fights and doesn't want to leave you. Explain to her, Nala, I love that you're coming to visit. You can't stay here. I wish you could, but you have to go back home. But I would love for you to visit whenever you want, and try to ease like her having to leave. But yeah, there's multiple soul contracts. Like our dogs have each taught Mike and I something different, and together they've taught us something. So it's a lot with like foster animals. I get this question a lot. I foster animals, do I have a contract with all of them? At some level, yes, because you took in that animal for a specific reason. It could have been a million other animals, but it was that one.
Okay. Just like every interaction that you have with a human, even a smile to a cashier, there's stories of, not to get down and gloomy, but there was a story of a guy that I think it was a personal story of someone that we knew. A guy was walking to a bridge to jump off of it, and someone gave him like a smile or gave him a note or something. And the guy just turned around and went back to his life and changed his life. Wow. So same thing with animals. Every interaction is part of your contract as your being.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Monique, go ahead.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
So I have many animals, as one of my friends on here knows, and I talk to them consistently. But one of my issues with her, she's my youngest, and she doesn't want to eat her real food. She just wants to eat treats all the time.
You have to think of if the food might be bothering her, even if she's had it her whole life.
No. So I have an almost 15-year-old standard poodle, and then a 12-year-old terrier, and she's a 7-year-old Shih Tzu terrier mix. They are all custom prepped meals daily, depending on what mood they want to eat. So they might get boiled chicken, they might get hamburgers, they might get some canned food with raw food. Who knows? They get raw, multiple. She's just really become picky, even though she used to be a chicken eater. So now she thinks she can eat and live on dehydrated yams, dog treat, raw yams. That's her favorite thing. She goes crazy. I don't know what to do, since the other two dogs eat when they should and then want a treat, and all she wants to do is eat treats. And I talk to her all the time and I say, come on, baby girl, I'm making you something different. And I put yams, I bake yams, and then I put her favorite, a little bit of kibble, like the flavor that she likes. I might even put a little bit of cat food to entice her. And she might eat some, she might not. And it's a guessing game every single meal.
Without actually intentionally connecting with her, it's hard to say why. But what I would recommend that you do is, one, obviously you could do an animal communication session. You could join my wait list. I can't take any more orders right now, but if you go to my website, you can join my wait list.
I'm on the wait list.
Okay, good. So
I've
like
been on it.
June or July will be the next booking
Okay.
window. But what you can do is some of the things like Mike was talking about and that I shared is sit down and go somewhere quiet, away from all the animals. Open the funnel on top of your head. Open the psychic vision, the hearing, your stomach, the solar plexus, and ask your spirit, your guides, your higher self, God, the universe. Ask everyone. Bring everyone to the party and say, how can I help her? What does she need? And try that. Because her behavior, she's trying to convey something, right? We know that there's something. Is it something in your life? And rhetorical question, don't answer this. Is there something with food with you? Is there something going on work, relationship with you that she's trying to bring your awareness to? And because you're not focusing on something over here, she's like, you know what, mom, until you focus on that, I'm not going to eat right. You know, sometimes it's as simple as that. You change your behavior, instantly they change. That's why I always say they're our greatest teachers. It's actually pretty incredible. Okay.
I will try that.
Okay.
Cool. I don't like her eating only treats. I'm afraid of her long-term health of living on treats and not like some regular food.
And just have a simple conversation with her out loud. Say, listen, this isn't good for your health. I want you to be strong and vibrant, to live forever, to be with me for many, many, many years. Please, if you don't like what I'm feeding you, tell me what you want, and ask her to send you the messages or the images so that you know, so that you get the message. Ask her to help you help her.
Okay. I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah. We had a dog that was passing that stopped eating. And then we did, or I think somebody we know connected with her, and the dog wanted something very specific. So we got it for her, and then she started eating again. And we probably got another 2 months of life with her here because she started eating food that she wanted, which we never would have thought of.
It's harder to connect with your own because you're emotionally attached, especially when you're in a deep health crisis. I could not figure out what she wanted. I texted my one friend and I said, I need help. What does Jordan want? Let me know if you get anything. And my friend said beef. And so I started cooking beef.
Meatballs.
It was raw beef. I didn't know it was raw. She said beef or raw. I forget what she said.
She said meatballs.
Did she?
Yeah, she said meatballs.
Yes. And then so I was thinking, okay, cooked meatballs. So I started making meatballs. And then I texted her like, I'm so glad I'm cooking them now. She goes, whoa. She wants it raw. And I was like, ew, really? So I just started handing her raw beef and she housed it. So that's just an example of, I was even doing this work, but with your own animals, with your own family members, sometimes it's a little harder. Okay, let's go to the chat here. Lisette, I've experienced telepathic animal communication twice with 2 deceased pets, but only in my dreams. Is this still considered a valid way of a pet communication or just a dream? It's definitely a pet communication. What this sounds like, Lisette, is what's called a visitation. There's a difference between a dream and a visitation. We all know what a dream is. We have dreams all the time. A visitation can happen with animals or past humans too. It feels so real that when you wake up, you're like, holy smokes, I was with my animal. I was with that human family member. It feels different when you wake up. And coming through in our dreams is one of the ways that our deceased animals come through to us. Sometimes we see flashes out of the corner of our eye. Sometimes they keep sending us the same color flower. Certain repetitive things keep happening. But a dream, absolutely pet communication. And when you wake up, think of what occurred in that dream. What message was sent? Because they're trying to say something, whether it's to help you ease, your aching heart, or they're giving you guidance as to something in your life. Every time I connect with an animal in spirit, I always ask, what advice do you have for your humans? And they always have something. So that's really cool that happened to you. It doesn't always happen to everyone. So definitely when that happens, just be aware and know that it really was them coming through.
Yeah, I just got a kind of like a feeling that I wanted to share something about the impossible conversation from my own life. It just came to me to tell you guys this. So currently I'm in the middle of an impossible conversation. So maybe if I can infuse some energy in for all of you to have them, is I lost a really close friend of mine, a guy that I served with in the Marines. He was like my brother, right? And I lost him like a year and a half due to some traumatic things. And he came through to me a couple weeks ago and gave me a message that I need to go have a conversation with his parents and his family and tell them something about why what happened, because it ties into a lot of stuff from the military and things like that. And when he came and visited me, I had a visitation like what Nikki was just saying. And I had to work through a lot of my own stuff to open up my channel to receive him. And when I received him, I got this message that I have to go and have this conversation with his family. And just the other day, another little tag onto that impossible conversation that is forming in my life is I went and I had a healing session done by somebody, and he kind of came through again and told me the reason why I'm going is some qualities about myself, but essentially he trusted me very deeply and I trusted him very deeply. So I have to bring a message to his family. And in order for me to have that message, I have to call them just like I recommended and tell them, hey, I need to have a very, I need to bring a message to you. Please, we'll do it. I'm not distracted, no food, no, it's not a party. Like I have a message to bring to you. And I haven't seen them in like 10 years. So, these impossible, and I know when I have this conversation, like so much energy is going to be soaring through me, So that just came through me to say that when she was talking about that. So I just something I wanted to share.
Debbie with the pink sweater. We have a couple Debbies on here. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm on the wait list also. I'm really looking forward to having a session with you at some point in the future.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I'm actually, we have dogs. We lost one of our dogs about a year ago to a sudden illness, and it was devastating, of course. But anyway, we've had some moments in the house where we think that he has shown up in the house. We've thought we've seen him walking around and so on. But most recently, we've had a really interesting thing happen that I am thinking might be our dog channeling some communication to us. But my husband and I, when we drive home from work in the afternoon, sometimes I'm in the car then I check messages, when I get to the driveway and I'm stopped there for a moment. And there has been a little sparrow that has been landing on my car on the passenger side rear view mirror. And it sits there and it flutters around and it is actually tapped on the glass of my side mirror. And it sits there for a minute and I looked at it and it was stunning. I grabbed and got a picture of it one time, and it has done this repeatedly, a dozen times in the past month or so. And it just sits there and flutters and flits and like it's trying to get my attention somehow. And my husband has told me the same thing has happened to him, where it lands on the passenger side window and it's just coming and greeting us for some reason. And we're both thinking, gosh, maybe it's our dog Bochi coming and channeling through a little greeting to us or something. And we're just trying to understand, have an open mind to what it possibly could be. And do you have any suggestions on what we should do? I've said hello there, to this bird, but it's just an odd, unusual, fascinating thing. And do you have any thoughts about all that?
It sounds like it absolutely is your dog, because they come through in such very unique ways. I don't know if Marianne's on this call with Milo, her cat that passed. He keeps sending her eagles, and they're not rare where she lives, but they're infrequent, and they keep flying by and like pausing over the house until she suddenly will look up. So our animals, sometimes they send wild animals to us, or sometimes the new pet that we get starts exhibiting some of the same behaviors that they used to do. It's their way of checking in to remind us, hey mom, hey dad, I'm okay. I am here. So what I recommend that you guys both do is, there's nothing that you need to do when this happens. Just sit and smile and thank the bird and thank your dog and just be in that moment.
Yeah.
Really just receive it. Because enjoy it, because there's nothing that you need to do. The fact that you guys are seeing it happen is so awesome, because so many people would just kind of brush it off. But the fact that it keeps happening on your window and his window, like this bird has a message, just sit there and let it in.
Yeah. Thank you.
I feel like it's your intuition telling you exactly what it is anyway. And then you're looking, most people, they want some confirmation and they have a question about if that's it. So you're probably, I feel very strongly you're 100% spot on what it is to you, what is happening for you.
Yeah. It's really enjoyable. It's fascinating and really fun. So yeah.
Debbie, I did a communication one time a while ago. I don't remember the animal's name or the human's name, but this animal, I don't remember, dog or cat. Dog. It was a dog. He said that he was sending cats to his mom. And his mom, the human mom, doesn't even like cats. There's no cats. She's allergic, so she's like, I don't have any cats in my world. And so we had a follow-up call. And then I don't know, a couple of days later, she was driving. She was stopped at a red light at a 5-point intersection. And then this cat walked across the crosswalk, stopped in front of her car and just looked at her.
I remember that.
Right. And she was like, oh. And then right when she made eye contact, he paused for a moment and then continued walking. That's just another example that our animals can send other animals.
Yes. My beagle says hello, by the way.
Aw. Thanks,
Okay.
Debbie.
Thank you.
Hey,
I
we
better
have
be muted right
time
away.
for one more. We'll take Brad's, and then that'll probably be it for.
These two are easy, so.
And then we'll go through the chat too and clean the chat up with some stuff. So.
Hi, Brad. Go ahead.
Okay, so listening to Debbie just reminding me of something. I was working with a guy, and all I got was paranormal. So I just sent him an email. He gives me a call. He's like, I have demons. And I was like, what? And so he starts telling me about it. I was like, this is crazy. So I'm just staring out my front window after we hang up. 50 crows fly over my house, land in my neighbor's front yard, and start hopping toward my house. And about 10 of them hop on top of my roof and start cluck, 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 cluck. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, so I'm thinking, what's going on? So I think about it. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Why are all these crows doing this? It was my, let's say, guardian angels telling me that they're ready for battle. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to be involved in any paranormal things. Like, this is way over my head. But what are your thoughts on paranormal activity and animals?
So Brad, just your role in this is just relay the message. And that was just the confirmation that whatever was happening, this needed to be, you said what you needed to say to that person. And the animals were just saying like, hey, it sounded like a message of confirmation, like you did your job, release your energy from it. Don't try to figure out what the message was. Don't try to figure out why, because you're just the channel. You're just relaying the message and that's it. But our animals.
What he was saying was, they don't like you. Like his friends, his entities said, oh, and they don't like you, Brad. And I was like, but they're like, they want you to join. And I was like, nope. I'm not going to join whoever is with you. And that's when I was like, hey, we're done with this phone call. Cause I was like, this is weird. And that's when the crows showed up and I was just like, oh crap, this is way above my experience. And so anyway, I just wanted to know if there was any, if an animal had a attachment of an entity or anything like that, and how would you solve it or get rid of it, talk to it to go away?
I think that, to answer your question, I don't know, but I kind of know. So I think that we all have attachments to guides and spirit guides and whatever. We all have higher beings helping us out. I've never had an encounter in a communication where I felt scared or like a negative energy was coming through. It just hasn't happened to me. But what I can recommend to you is that after your sessions, regardless, good or bad, and I don't even want to say good or bad, it's not good or bad, it just is what it is. After your session of any kind, you want to disconnect fully. You want to cut the cord because you got to clear the energy. And in the beginning, I struggled with doing this. I would forget to do it. And then as my day would go on, I would feel like this ache in my left side where the horse was having pain. I didn't disconnect fully. So with whatever session you're doing, make sure when you're done, like on the phone, when you're like, you know what, I'm done this conversation, and you have a right to know what's good for you and not. So if something is like, you know what, this doesn't feel right, I'm out of here. Hang up the phone, disconnect in your mind, literally visualize a phone hanging up, visualize you cutting a physical cord, and just push their energy back to them, push your energy up around you. And that's it. Don't even think about it. Disconnect.
I'll just add real quick to that. I sometimes in the coaching space that I enter into, because it's very funny. She does like animal stuff, and I work with people. but I understand her process because it's very like the type of coaching that I do. So I kind of enter into a very deep space with people. And if anything comes up in these spaces that is like what you mentioned, if it is not of love, I give zero attention to it. It does not exist in my reality. Just because it exists in someone else's reality, a lot of times they want to bring you into their reality. But by you being a bridge, the most important thing is neutrality. So when you're neutral, and it's very important that in your mind you start to differentiate between what it actually is to give like when we think about something, it'll give power to it. Just if you stay in that neutral place, it's like it goes in one ear and out the other, and then it won't attach. And it's like what Nikki was saying. It's you have to ground and you have to center after every single interaction. And in order, and for you to assign for all of you that if you start working with people or animals in any way, if you start having someone else's ideas and stuff, or even from a really bad conversation, like that somebody dumped on you, negativity and fear, if their perceptions or their ideas are crossing your mind, like something they said or like something they put on you, it means you didn't clear that. So when you start to enter into these spaces, if any of you ever want to work with people or animals or just going through your day, you come home from work, intentionally ground and intentionally clear yourself from anything that is not of love. And that, once again, there's a small little thing you can just constantly be doing all the time.
Way better answer than mine. Glad you're here.
You want to answer
right,
some
so
stuff in here?
A couple things in the chat that'll be easy, quick for me to respond to. I do not communicate with lost pets. And I don't, because for me personally, I cannot tell if they are living or have passed because they communicate with me the exact same. So I don't feel that I can provide value in those sessions. So I don't even try, because animals move just like we move. And even if the animal is alive, you know, I might get an image of a big red barn and a broken down car, but maybe they were there 5 minutes ago and they've since moved. So I don't do lost pets for that reason. I just can't tell. Some animal communicators specialize in lost pets and they use maps and dowsing, and they say that they can sense how far the spirit is from the body to see if they're still alive or not. I just can't. Belle loves you and says hi. I talked to Deborah's one dog, Belle, and just speaking to our animals, just like I'm talking to you guys right now, changes everything. How do you open up communication channels to loved ones who pass? So Jane, I don't connect with humans, but it's the exact same thing. It's imagine your heart connecting with theirs, visualize them in your energy field, and pose your question. There's no difference between talking to animals and talking to people. I just don't talk with people because it's not where my heart lies. I want to connect with the animals, but the process is the exact same.
And sometimes that can happen. Loved ones can come through to you, not with even your intention of saying, oh, I want to connect with this person. Because when it happened to me, it's happened to me a few times. And I never intended it. I was not looking for it. But you go to a place or you do something that opens you up into more of a an intuitive psychic space. Like if you do a live meditation with someone, right? Or you go for a walk in the park and you're sitting there just like sitting by water, and all of a sudden, like, because nature and water is the best place to tap into your these abilities, by the way. It might just come through to you like boom, wham, and then you're left there like judging yourself the rest of the day if that was real or not, you know? So that's how it's happened for me. I've never intentionally sat down and done it, but if you want it to happen, it can. And in the beginning, you just kind of have to find your way into it.
Last question, and then we're going to depart for today. Amy, you said animals see life through your eyes when you're not with them. Are they multidimensional? Absolutely. So our animals, I've had horses describe people's basements to me. They've never been in the basement. The barn wasn't near the house. I had a cat one time describe his mom's cubicle at her work where everything was. So what we see, our eyeballs, they see what we see because it's all energy. When it goes back to everything, it's energy. we're all connected. Humans, we're a lot more limited than our animals. They can connect with their siblings on the other side. They don't have all these, like, it's easier for them. So the animals, they understand everything, which is why I say talk to them just like I'm talking to you. Talk to them about your day. So many dog trainers out there, and no disrespect to dog trainers, I'm not a dog trainer, but I hear a lot from dog trainers that you don't want to tell your animal where you're going because they're going to get nervous. Maybe that's true for some animals. In every single animal that I have worked with, that hasn't been the case, and telling them only makes everything better. Thank you all for being here. It was so fun to this is the first time we did this workshop, and it was just so great to give you the tools that Mike and I both use every single day just to enhance all these fun gifts that we all have as humans.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll end with, this psychic intuitive world, this area of life, it can get very, what's the right word for it? It can get a little woo-woo. I mean, there's a lot to it, right? Everybody has their different opinions and experiences, and you can sometimes go down rabbit holes with this stuff. And to be honest, both of us, we've experienced a lot of things in this realm. And when we grounded in becoming a simple human being with the things that we went over today, is when all this stuff really took place, because it happens within inside of you. So just tread very lightly, because the world is filled with a lot of different information, a lot of different ideas, but you always know what is best for you and how to really bring this stuff into your life. And guard your heart, guard your life, because things can take energy from you. They can be like really thick, and they can be really icky and gooey, and you think you're learning something, but really it's taking from you at the same time. So always rely on yourself, always trust yourself, and look at the framework that came from you. You can never deny that. That's not a pure thing.
You all.
Many blessings, everyone.
Have a great day.